Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. This is Krishna Dasa. So today we are going to continue 11th chapter. We are going to do Shlokas 11.16 to 11.23. And before we begin, let me say the prayers to Guru and God, and then I'll play the Guru Mantra. Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुमिलितमेन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः.
Hare Krishna. So I'll play the shlokas now.
अनेकबाहूदरवक्त्रनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां सर्वतोऽनन्तरूपम् नान्तं न मध्यं न पुनस्तवादिम् पश्यामि विश्वेश्वर विश्वरूप किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रिणं च तेजोराशिं सर्वतो दीप्तिमन्तम् पश्यामि त्वां दुर्निरीक्ष्यं समन्ताद् दीप्तानलार्कद्युतिमप्रमेयम् त्वमक्षरं परमं वेदितव्यम् त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् त्वमव्ययः शाश्वतधर्मगोप्ता सनातनस्त्वं पुरुषो मतो मे अनादिमध्यान्तमनन्तवीर्यम् अनन्तबाहुं शशिसूर्यनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां दीप्तहुताशवक्त्रम् स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं तपन्तम् द्यावा पृथिव्योरिदमन्तरं हि व्याप्तं त्वयैकेन दिशश्च सर्वाः दृष्ट्वाद्भुतं रूपमुग्रं तवेदम् लोकत्रयं प्रव्यथितं महात्मन् अमीहि त्वां सुरसङ्घा विशन्ति केचिद्भीताः प्राञ्जलयो गृह्णन्ति स्वस्तीत्युक्त्वा महर्षिसिद्धसङ्घाः स्तुवन्ति त्वां स्तुतिभिः पुष्कलाभिः रुद्रादित्या वसवो ये च साध्या विश्वेश्विनौ मरुतश्चोष्मपाश्च गन्धर्वयक्षासुरसिद्धसङ्घा वीक्षन्ते त्वां विस्मिताश्चैव सर्वे रूपं महत्ते बहुवक्त्रनेत्रम् महाबाहो बहुबाहूरुपादम् बहूदरं बहुदंष्ट्राकरालम् दृष्ट्वा लोकाः प्रव्यथितास्तथाहम्.
Hare Krishna. So who is reading today?
Guruji, it's my turn.
Please go ahead. Start reading the shlokas.
Hare Krishna, 11.16. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see you everywhere with infinite forms, with many arms, bellies, mouths and eyes. I see neither your beginning nor the middle nor the end. 11.17. I see you crowned, wielding a mace and discus, a mass of radiance glowing on all sides. It is hard to look upon you in the blazing fire of your effulgence, blazing with the splendor of the sun, which is radiating in all directions. 11.18. You are the supreme imperishable being and the ultimate truth to be known by the scriptures. You are the supreme support and foundation of this universe. You are the inexhaustible protector of Sanatan Dharma, the eternal Dharma. I recognize you as the primeval Supreme Personality. 11.19. I see you without beginning, middle, or end, possessing infinite powers, endless arms, with the sun and moon as your eyes, and blazing fire as your mouth, heating this universe with your own radiance. 11.20. The space between heaven and earth and all the directions are indeed pervaded by you alone, you great one. Having seen this wonderful and fierce form of yours, the three worlds tremble. 11.21. These hosts of gods are taking your shelter by entering into you. In awe or out of fear, some are offering praises with folded palms. The assemblies of great sages and perfected beings glorify you with auspicious hymns and abundant prayers. 11.22. The Rudras, the Adityas, Vasus, Sadhyas, Vishwadevas, the Ashwins, Maruts, and the forefathers, and the assemblies of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and Siddhas all gaze at you in amazement. O mighty armed one, seeing your great form with many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, feet, and many bellies, and fearsome with many teeth, the worlds are greatly shaken, and so am I. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So when you are reading all of this, are you feeling the Vishwarupa, or is it still just words? So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. In the previous set of shlokas, we discussed the reasons why Sanjaya addressed Krishna as Mahayogeshwara. Remember, we had an entire discussion around that Yogeshwara, then we spoke about Samyoga, Viyoga, Yoga, and all of that. Correct? Now, that is a very important term. So, I would like to showcase another instance from the Mahabharata where Sri Krishna was referred to as a yogi, a Mahayogi, and what lesson we can learn from that. So, it's a continuation, slightly different context though, but it's nevertheless going to be interesting and it's going to give us some more lessons. So, as you know, when the Kurukshetra war ended, there was a lot of devastation, a lot of destruction, a lot of people died on both sides. It was a very gory scene. And of course, the Pandavas were victorious, but a lot of ill feelings had already been generated as well. Like Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, there are so many people who all developed so many negative feelings, ill feelings, because they all lost people. Of course, there are even Pandavas side, there were ill feelings because they also lost a lot of people. So that is a scenario where the biggest war on the planet has just finished, a lot of destruction everywhere, and a lot of people with a lot of ill feelings and anger and all of that. Among all of that, do you know who had probably the biggest or most negative feeling? Any guesses? What is your guess, Akash?
Arjun?
Dhritarashtra, yes, definitely Dhritarashtra had a lot of...
Duryodhana?
Gandhari, yes, Gandhari also had a lot of negative qualities, negative emotions. Simranji, you said somebody else?
Guruji, a wild guess. Maybe the
Duryodhana.
Pandavas because of the loss as well.
Yeah. Arjun, I
what
guess.
did you say, Deepaji? Who?
I said maybe the Pandavas themselves. The loss that they had, that's the reason. I'm just making a wild guess.
No, there are no wrong answers. There are definitely no wrong answers.
So what if you win the war, but at the end of the day, the loss is a loss? So
They lost.
a different.
Yeah, they lost.
Yudhishthira.
Yudhishthira, okay. No
Was it
wrong
Karna?
answers. At least this question made you think
Krishna.
about, all the different players in the war. So that was the purpose of me asking the question, because the Mahabharata does not clearly say who had the most negative feelings. That's just a way of me asking. And for this context, I think one of the people who had the most negative feelings, anger, was Ashwatthama. Because that is why he is the only Chiranjeevi probably who is a cursed Chiranjeevi. So there is a big story about Ashwatthama. He is the son of Dronacharya. And his hatred for Pandavas was so much. See, this is what happens when you are all thinking from a perspective of pride. When pride is doing your thinking, this is how the thoughts will always be. As long as pride is doing the thinking, we are always playing victim. It's always poor me and the entire world is wrong. So it's very, very important, because Ashwatthama could not see what the Kauravas had done. He could only see that the Pandavas killed his father. And he was fuming, he was angry, he was vengeful. So much so that he wanted the world to become a Pandavam. That means he wanted to rid the world of all traces of Pandavas. That is how vengeful and negative he had become. And how was he trying to do that? See, because as you probably already know, in the Mahabharata, even the Pandavas lost all their sons. And the only hope, was the child which was in Uttara's womb, which is Abhimanyu's wife. That was the only hope, because there was no other children left for the Pandavas who could continue the lineage, and everybody knew that. Ashwatthama knew that. So Ashwatthama now invokes the divine Brahmastra, and is sending the Brahmastra towards the womb of Uttara, because he wants the world to become a Pandavam. See the amount of negativity. So this is the scenario. And that child in Uttara's womb was Parikshit Maharaj, a very elevated soul, who goes on to become a just ruler and all of that. And the Brahmastra, it is written in many scriptures, it's one of the most mighty destructive weapons. Now it is going towards Uttara. Now, Uttara knew that this is going on. She knew that the Brahmastra is coming towards me. And of course, she was afraid. She was not afraid for her own life. She was more afraid for the child, Parikshit, because he was the future of Pandavas. It was not just that what will happen to my lineage, but Uttara was also worried about what will happen to Dharma. Because it was the Pandavas who were responsible for Dharma. So this was all going on, and she is kind of afraid, scared, she's worried, and she knows that this Brahmastra is such a mighty weapon. In that scenario, when this is happening, Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Bhima, all the mighty warriors, they're all there. They're all around Uttara. Okay. However, she just knew, she instinctively knew that none of them can help me. See, this is Uttara's state of mind, that the world's mightiest warriors, the warriors who have conquered the war of Kurukshetra, they have conquered the biggest war on the planet, but she knows even they cannot help her in this situation. So what else? But she knew the only person who can really help me is Krishna. Because Krishna is also there. See, this is her realization. At that moment of crisis, she understands. Now, this is very similar to what Narada Muni said in the Bhakti Sutra. Anyashrayanas tyago ananyata. Narada Muni said that you may think that your money will save you, protect you. You may think that your friends are there to protect you, save you. The power you have will save you or protect. Nothing. He says at the end of the day, the only true protector is the divine and the divine grace. And you need to be in that mindset. Only then you will be aligned with divine grace. And that is what Uttara realized at that moment, that the only person who can help me is Krishna. So in that moment of crisis, in that moment of desperation, in that moment of fear and anxiety, she runs towards Krishna. It's a very, very, I don't have the right word to describe, but I can only use a very common word, profound. It's a but for the lack of a right word, this is how these scenarios are. You can't explain in words, but the situation was such, where she says, Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam twadbayam pashye yatra mrutyuha parasparam. So see what she says. She says, Pahi pahi mahayogin. So again, the yogi aspect is being invoked here. That's why I'm talking about this particular instance. So she says, Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate. So she says, protect me, oh great yogi, Yogeshwara. No? You are the Lord of Lords, oh Master of the universe. I don't see anybody else who can save me or who can protect me at this instance. At this instance, when death is approaching from all directions, because that was the power of Brahmastra. It's as if death is coming to you from everywhere. You cannot run anywhere. No? So see, at that instance, she is crying out to Krishna. Pahi pahi mahayogin, deva deva jagatpate. So first comes the acknowledgement, first comes the surrender. First comes acknowledging that you are the supreme, you are the grace, and then I surrender. And then comes, protect me. So beautiful and so profound and so, See, again, she was surrounded by all the mighty warriors. But she knew none of them can help. See? Not just that. The people who were surrounding her, they also knew that they cannot help her. Otherwise, somebody would have already tried to shield her or come in front of her. They knew. The situation was such, Brahmastra, they don't have an answer. They cannot help. So here, Uttara doesn't just give up. Uttara doesn't just say that it is so dire, this situation is so bad, and that even the mighty Arjuna, the Bhima, none of them can help me. And then she doesn't collapse. She doesn't just give up. She doesn't say there is nothing else in the life for me. At that time, her devotion and faith, in fact, increases. And she runs towards Krishna. And she says, Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate, you can help me. You have to help me. Does it ring a bell? That is our life. When we are facing some real bad situations, when we are going through a crisis, many times that is when we think, some of us go negative. We are like, oh, where is God? If God is there, why is this happening? Or there are a million other negative ways that our pride and our ego puts into mind. The right approach is, that is when you have to have more faith, not less faith. And that is when you are supposed to run towards Krishna. Okay? So that is the great message here. So for surrendered souls, Krishna is always there. See, the message is very clear. What comes first? Surrender. Then comes the protection. You cannot say, first give me good times, then I will surrender. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. You have to first surrender. So she is surrendering, and she's saying, Krishna, help me, save me. And Krishna is always there. He is always there for his devotees. Especially devotees who have surrendered to him, Krishna is there. And Krishna has already assured us. This assured us in the 9th chapter. What does he assure us in 9th chapter? Who can tell me? 9th chapter, what was Krishna's assurance?
Ananya Chintan.
Chintan.
Ananya Chintan is what we have to do. But what is his assurance?
Yogakshema Mahami.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Krishna had said, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripasite. That is a prerequisite. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Who is doing Ananya Chintan? For them, he says, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. I carry what they lack and they preserve what they have. So right now, Uttara had a child and Krishna was keeping his promise. to preserve her child because she had already surrendered and she was a devotee. So this is where Krishna goes and creates a protective shield around Uttara's womb, and he uses his own divine energy. He doesn't use any weapon. He uses his own energy to shield that womb. When the Brahmastra comes, it tries to go, nothing happens. The Brahmastra can't face that energy. The Brahmastra just dissolves. Nobody else, no human can do that. It's documented. That is the power of the Brahmastra. But Krishna demonstrated that if you are surrendered, if you are a surrendered devotee, then Yogakshemam Mahamyam, he is going and demonstrating it there. And everybody is looking. The onlookers, the Pandavas, Uttara, everybody is looking and they're all awestruck. They realize yet again they realize that Krishna is the supreme. He's not just some person, he's supreme. See, this protection of Parikshit, it was not just a physical protection. He was not playing the role of a personal security guard, because Krishna is doing that as an assurance to everybody, all of humanity, that Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, I have said and I will stand by it. If you surrender and if you come to me, no matter how big your problem, I will be there. Not just that, he also wants to uphold Dharma. That was the purpose of his avatar, to uphold Dharma. And Parikshit was the last chance because he's the one who could carry on the dharmic way of life. Right? So that is the whole thing. And then the story goes that Uttara was very overwhelmed with gratitude and she's bowing down to Krishna. She acknowledges him again as you are the ultimate savior. You are the supreme. And everybody's faith in Krishna again gets more deep about this. So this episode is just that Krishna is full of grace, he's full of compassion. He's not just a statesman, he's not just a warrior. No, he's also full of compassion. In other words, he's not just a Mahayogeshwara, that is not his only qualification, he's also a Bhakta Vatsala. That's the most beautiful aspect of Krishna. The Bhakta Vatsala means the one who is always ever affectionate towards his bhaktas. He's not indifferent. He's involved and he's affectionate, he's compassionate. So it is another encouragement for all of us when we go through some of our own challenges and some of our own crises. At that moment, let us deepen our faith in Krishna and run towards him instead of trying to run away. Running away would be a function of your pride and ego, but running towards would be a function of your surrender. That is the big message here. So now Arjuna, let's come back to our friend Arjuna, because we are still in the Vishwarupa Darshanam. The war is not yet happened. So we will come back. So Arjuna is now looking at the Vishwarupam and he is awestruck. He's filled with wonder and reverence, and he's trying to describe it with words, limited words. And he says, "Oh Krishna, I see your infinite form in every direction. Countless arms, stomachs, faces, eyes. Oh Lord of the universe, your form is the universe itself. And I cannot see any beginning, any middle, any end." Because Krishna had said initially, that I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end. Arjuna says, but I cannot see any beginning, any middle, any end, because he's seeing the universe itself, which is infinite. So Arjuna says, Pashyami tvam sarvato anantarupam, meaning I see your infinite form everywhere. And he says, Pashyami Vishweshwara Vishwarupa, which means I see you, O Lord of the universe, in your universal form. So the word Vishweshwara means controller of the universe. Vishwa is a limitless, unrestricted universe, whereas Anantarupam means innumerable, infinite forms, which reinforces the concept that the divine, you cannot confine the divine to just one single shape or one form or one identity. No, that is the message here, because many religions, they try to bind God, put God in a cage and say, this is the only form or this is the only name. But how can you? God is like Anantarupam. That was the whole significance of why in Sanatana Dharma we used to have millions of gods. Why millions? You can have trillions. Because how can you restrict God and say that God has to, be only what I want God to be? So that is another aspect here. And we also studied earlier that God is beyond Kala, Dvesha and Vastu. He is beyond time, he is beyond identity, he is beyond location, correct? So again, in the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, which is Yajurveda, based on Yajurveda, there is a very profound shloka there again, which says, Yasmat param na aparam, asti kinchita yasmat na aniyah, na jayah asti kanchita, vrikshah iva stabdah, divi tishtati ekah, tena idam purna purushena sarvam. There is nothing higher than or different from him, nothing greater or more minute than him. See, nothing greater also, nothing more minute also. So he is bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Rooted in his own glory, he stands like a tree in the universe, one without a second. And he is that one being from whom the whole universe is pervaded. See how many different ways people try to describe, but they need so many shlokas, they need so many words to try and describe. That is the nature of that Supreme. And now Arjuna is trying to see that, and he is also falling short of words. And within all of that infiniteness, Arjuna also identifies the familiar four-armed form of Mahavishnu. You have all seen a lot of this artistic representation of Mahavishnu with four arms, I'm sure. And they are holding they are symbolic. So the four-armed form of Vishnu, you will always see holding a mace, a conch, a disc, and a lotus flower. These are the four. So these are very symbolic, so I'll try to quickly go through them. The conch, which is the Shankha, it represents the Om, the primordial sound, which is the sound of the universe itself, the beginning of everything. You may all remember in the 10th chapter, Krishna said, he said, Maharishinam Bhruguham, which is, I am among Maharishis, I am Bhrigu. And in the same sentence he says, Giram Asma Ekam Aksharam. He said, I am Ekam Aksharam, which is Om. So he said, among the sages, I am Bhrigu, and among speeches, I am the single syllable Om. Krishna himself has said that I am Om, and that conch is a symbolic representation of that. It represents that sound Om. And then the disc, which is also known as Sudarshana Chakra, that is also a very powerful symbol. See, the word Sudarshana comes from Su, which means good or auspicious, and Darshana, meaning vision or sight. So Sudarshana means auspicious vision, which is representing the Bhagavan's all-seeing nature, his ability to see everything, his ability to perceive everything, his ability to manage the workings of the cosmos, so the entire universe. He can see everything and he can manage everything. It's very philosophical, but it's interesting, so I'll try to go through it. The circular shape of the Sudarshana Chakra, it symbolizes the cyclic nature of time. So time is known as Kala. So you have this unending cycle of creation, preservation, destruction. It keeps going on and on. So that circular shape is representing that as well. It also represents Viveka, which is discrimination, and Jnana, which is knowledge, which are necessary to cut through Maya. So Sudarshana Chakra cuts through everything. So that is a representative way of saying it is Jnana and Viveka, which can cut through Maya and Avidya. Why it has to cut through Maya and Avidya? Why do we need to cut through Maya and Avidya? Because that is what binds the soul to the material realm. So only when you cut through Maya and Avidya, that is when you can free the soul. That is where liberation will come. And the chakra also represents Ritha. Ritha means it's the principle of cosmic order. Pretty much. So Ritha, the R itself means to go or to move or to rise. So Rita is usually translated as truth or order or cosmic order, but it kind of encompasses more than all these three terms. So it's pretty much the principle of natural law, which is governing all the phenomena in the universe. So how the sun is there, how the moon is there, how everything is orbiting each other in harmony, like, the stars are shining. Everything seems to be knowing what it's supposed to do, where it's supposed to be. That is all a function of Ritha, the cosmic law, the cosmic order. And then the lotus flower, Padma, that symbolizes purity, fertility, and creation. See, as you know, we have studied this earlier also. The lotus can grow in muddy water, but it is not impacted neither by the mud nor by the water. So it will emerge unscathed. So impurities never touch it, impurities never impact it. So that is why the lotus is a symbol of spiritual enlightenment, self-realization. So in the 5th chapter also, Krishna had said in the he called it Padma Patram. That is what he referred to lotus. So you can take a note, 5.10, and you can go read it. So in 5.10, Krishna says, those who dedicate their actions to me, abandoning all attachment, they remain untouched by sin, just as the lotus is untouched by water. So the symbolism that I'm talking about in the Mahavishnu four-armed form, all those symbols, Krishna has already spoken about them in the Bhagavad Gita. That is why I wanted to give a kind of a recap so that you can, understand and revise all of that. Similarly, the mace, which is Gada, that represents physical and mental strength. Some of you may know that Gada is also known as Kaumodaki, very powerful weapon. And so some of the aspects of that Gada is immense strength and power to destroy evil. And in some interpretations, some acharyas, they will interpret the Gada also as embodiment of knowledge and wisdom, because that is also powerful, which helps dispel ignorance. And the Gada is also viewed as an instrument of divine punishment. Why are we talking about that? Did Krishna talk about punishment anywhere in the Bhagavad Gita? Do you think he did? No? He didn't talk about punishment at all? I think he spoke about punishment once.
In Vibhuti, when he said chastisement or something.
Yes. So in chapter 10.38, Krishna says, Dando damayatam asmi nitirasmi jigishatam. So he said, among the punishers, I am the rod of chastisement. And I am morality for those who seek victory. So there he spoke about the rod of chastisement, which you can look at as a symbolic representation of the Gada only, that Vishnu is holding in one of the hands. So as you can see, all those symbols that they hold, they have some great significance. And now maybe when you look at a Vishnu with four arms and holding those things, now probably you can interpret it differently, and it will help you think of that form differently. Okay. And then Arjuna is standing in awe. He's looking at, all these infinite forms, and also this form with four hands. And of course, he realizes the profound truth of Krishna's words from the 10th chapter. The 10th chapter, 10.8. You can note that down again. See, this is what I always say. Bhagavad Gita is beautiful for one more reason, is everything ties to everything. Like you may think that you know everything about chapter 2, but when you go to chapter 3, it will tell you a bit more about chapter 2, and like that. Now, when you are in chapter 11, now we are revisiting chapter 10, some of the things that we didn't even look at it that way. Okay. So, in 10.8, Krishna had said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this, they worship me with faith and devotion. And this is similar to what Arjuna was saying. He was saying that this looks like Everything is the source of everything. The entire universe I'm seeing. So chapter 10 was theory, chapter 11 is now practicals. So, no, of course, Arjuna's understanding is getting more deeper and deeper, and he's again getting reassured of Krishna's all-encompassing nature. And it is a lesson to all of us, encouragement, to look beyond the material and see divine presence in every aspect of life. Because as you can see, when Krishna manifests his Vishwarupa, there is no one form, there is no one name, there is no one something. It is everything and everywhere and innumerable and infinite. And so what does it mean? It again comes back to the same message. You look at the leaf, Krishna is there. You look at a tree, Krishna is there. You look at a dog, Krishna is there. So that is the whole idea of Samadarshanaha. Because that is the truth. And that is what now Krishna is showing to Arjuna. And another truth that Arjuna realizes, it just comes, a cosmic download comes to him, that Krishna is also the supporter of all creation, and Krishna is also the eternal protector of Sanatana Dharma. See, in the teachings of Vedanta, the Dharma is central. Dharma is very central to our Vedic knowledge and Vedic literature. And there, Dharma has been categorized at a very high level. Dharma has been categorized into two. One is Sanatana Dharma and one is Yuga Dharma. The Dharma that never changes or eternal is called Sanatana Dharma, and the Dharma which is specific to a particular time is called as Yuga Dharma. The word itself tells you, Yuga Dharma means it is specific to a particular Yuga. Okay. See, that is documented in the scriptures also. Like, for example, things like non-violence, truthfulness, they are all like eternal. They will never change. Doesn't matter which Yuga you are in. Truth, for example, truth has been always given a great importance in every Yuga. So, but Yuga Dharma is supposed to be adapting to the time. So every Yuga will have its own Yuga Dharma. So Satya Yuga, which is also known as Krita Yuga, the same thing. It was the golden age where Dharma was standing on 4 legs. That is how it is represented or described. Dharma standing on 4 legs. What are the 4 legs? The 4 legs are Satyam, Daya, Tapas, and Dhana. You understand all those 4 words? If you don't understand, raise your hands, let me know. And in that age, people are naturally inclined towards righteousness. So you can find it in the Vishnu Purana. It is written, Satyam Daya Tapo Danam Shrutam Cha Dwapare Bhavat Alpa Vashishtam Tad Dharma Chatushkam Kalina Hrutam. I am trying to condense all of this a lot because it's very vast. I hope it still makes sense, but somewhere if something needs more explanation, you can always get back to me and I will try to go deeper because this topic is very vast. So, whatever I read just now from Vishnu Purana, it is saying that in the Dwapara Yuga, truthfulness, compassion, austerity, charity, they were all prevalent. In the Kali Yuga, these 4 aspects of Dharma, they are all there only for a very small extent. They have been taken away mostly by the influence of Kali. So, in other words, the Purana talks about the gradual decline of Dharma throughout the 4 yugas. Okay. And then Dharma keeps reducing. So it is documented that every yuga, 1/4 goes away. So as I said, in Satya Yuga, we had 4 legs, which was 100%. And every yuga after that, 1/4 goes. So 1 leg goes, 1 leg goes, 1 leg goes. That is how it has been described in the scriptures. So you can all feel like, oh God, that means now I'm in Kali Yuga, I'm doomed, because Kali Yuga is where it is gotten just 1 leg and no dharma and all of that. Yes. It is a bad period. However, there is a silver lining. We can all be happy about one thing about Kali Yuga. Do you know what that one thing is? That one thing is what? Yeah, Prakash?
God's grace. In Satyuga, you have do like yoga tapasya for a longer time, like for 10,000 years, but in Kali Yuga it is more faster. By the chanting the holy name, you can achieve the God's grace.
Excellent, excellent. You have been doing studies. Very good. Pretty impressed. Thank you. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that now here I'm trying to connect all the dots. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I've extracted that particular verse and see the beginning, how it begins, and then you will understand pretty much where we are going and how we are connecting the dots. So, that Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, the 51st verse, it says, "My dear King Parikshit, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults," see now, Sutta Goswami is addressing who? Maharaj Parikshit, the same divine person who was saved by Krishna because he was in Uttara's womb. So in a way, I would say thanks to Parikshit that Srimad Bhagavatam was documented. Because it was Parikshit who went and requested for that knowledge, and Sutta Goswami starts talking, and then this is the version that got documented later on. So we should be thankful to see how big a deal it was to make sure that Parikshit was saved. You see? Okay. So there Goswamiji is explaining that yes, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but there is still one good quality about that age. Just like Ekansh mentioned, just by chanting the holy name and singing the praise of God, you can become free. That is the advantage. So and then it continues and he says, whatever was obtained in Sati Yuga by meditation, in Treta Yuga by performing Vedic sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving deity worship, all of that you can achieve in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the holy name and singing his glories, Kirtan. Now, this is what I was trying to explain earlier in another lesson. See, first of all, this concept of I'll sit and meditate for years, that was applicable for Satya Yuga. That is not applicable now. Nobody can today sit and meditate for 100 years. It's not possible. Or 1,000 years. It's just not possible. Treta Yuga was for Vedic sacrifices. So that is why today you should not try to say that, what mantra shall I take, or, what Archana if I do, then what I will get. That is why Krishna said Moha Kalilam, because that was for a different yuga. If you are not trying to run behind it, you don't have the capacity to understand the complexities of how all of that works. That is why that Vedic sacrifice and the Vedic rituals, that was for Treta Yuga. And then the whole temple thing, going to temples and worshipping deities, that was for Dwapara Yuga. So that is why in this age again we cannot make that the primary thing. We cannot again say that I will do a Tirtha Yatra and No, that Tirtha Yatra was meant for the earlier Dwapara Yuga. That was the Yuga Dharma then. So what is it that is required for this Yuga? Chant the holy name and sing the Kirtan. And that is what is the way of liberation. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had said, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Isva Kevalam. Kalav nasti eva gatiranyata. He said, like in this age of Kali, the only way is chanting the holy name and singing the glories of the Lord. Kirtanam. Japa and Kirtan. But it is also a good thing, right? Because it's not that hard. Anybody can do Japa, anybody can do Kirtan. But that is why, that is the advantage of being in Kali Yuga, that just by doing that you can still get liberation. You just have to do it with the right bhava, with sincerity and conviction and consistency. That is all. And the next, Arjuna is finally also overwhelmed. Just like he said, Lord has... See, what is happening, a funny thing happening is now Arjuna is so overwhelmed and everything that he keeps repeating the same thing again and again, just like some of us, when something very crazy happens, we keep saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You already said, oh my God. Why do you say it 10 times, right? So Arjuna is in that situation, he's so overwhelmed that he's repeating, just like he's again and again saying, Lord, I cannot see any beginning. I can't see any middle. I can't see any end. And he keeps repeating that. And Arjuna is also expressing, he's saying, oh Lord, the space between heaven and earth and all the directions, they are all completely filled by you. And I am seeing your form, which is wonderful also, and it is terrible also. And I am seeing that the three worlds, all the three worlds are now trembling in fear because your terrible form is so terrible. So, as per Swami Mukundananda's interpretation, I liked, I attended one of his lectures and I really liked how he interpreted this part. He says that, this is Mukundananda, one paragraph, I'm just reading Mukundananda's statement. He says, Arjuna also sees the Kala Rupa of Sri Krishna, that is his form, as all devouring time, Kala, all devouring. The marching onslaught of time consumes even the greatest of personalities, including the celestial gods. Time doesn't spare anybody. Even the king of gods, Indra, will one day, die. That is how powerful time is. So that is why Kala Rupa is supposed to be a very terrifying form. And Arjuna sees all of them entering the universal form with folded hands. In other words, all the great people who think they're really great, gods and demigods and king of gods and all of that, he's seeing that at the end they are all entering this Kala Rupa of Krishna with folded hands. At the end they all had to bow down. At the same time, all the sages and perfected souls, he sees them praising and glorifying the Lord. It is not just Arjuna who is so wonderstruck with the Vishwarupa Darshanam, all the Rudras. Rudras means the manifestations of Shiva. All the demigods, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, they are all wonderstruck and they all seem terrified. So this was Mukundananda's explanation, which I found very impactful. So how even the gods and demigods are scared, So as we can see, in spite of being such a strong personality, like Arjuna was Mahabaho, and he was also having Krishna's personal guidance. Krishna was his friend, and Krishna gave him Divya Drishti. In spite of all those qualifications, Arjuna is so overwhelmed. Now, do you think you are ready, or do you think, or should we feel we are ready for the divine grace and realization? Because this is what realization is, right? When you say realization, it is not just realizing a rose flower. It is realizing the entirety of Brahman, which includes the good, bad, the wonderful, the terrible, everything. Are we ready? That is why purification, strengthening, bhakti, so important. So in the next set of verses, we will see how now Krishna compassionately guides Arjuna and helps him deal with that overwhelming situation that Krishna has created. So, Hare Krishna, with that I'll stop talking. So, if you had any questions, comments, concerns, please go ahead. Feel free to raise them. Now, you are all also overwhelmed, huh? Wonderstruck. ठीक है. Chalo then. Hare Krishna, have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of the evening, whichever, depending on which part of the world you are on, and see you all in the next session.